I hope it's okay that you know that I mess up a lot. I know it looks like I have a perfect world and everything just goes so smoothly. No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, if you watch my live streams, you realize how stupid my life can be sometimes. But hey, this is Lorena, and I wanted to do a video on a quilt that I almost screwed it all up. I almost just screwed it all up, y'all. Yeah, and then because I was trying to not really screw it up throughout making or long arming the quilt, I was wrestling with it the whole time. So let me share what I did wrong. I'm working on this quilt today and I'm having a bit of problems, but you know, hey, I am putting quilt feathers on this quilt. I don't know if you can see how beautiful it is quilting. This quilt had like little problems like this. It kind of angles kind of that way, but I think this probably was the bottom of the quilt and I turned around and used it as the top of the quilt. I'm using a very light thread, and then it's beautiful because it kind of highlights some of the colors inside the quilt itself. Also, when I put on this leader, I don't know if you could see that there's waviness when I put the leader on. I think I have some pleats in the back that I was trying to manage while it was long arming, so let me show you what I'm talking about. One of the things I did wrong is I was doing a live stream and I was trying to share how quickly I could put on a quilt on the long arm. And anyway, I put on the back fabric and I didn't stretch it enough. Well, I don't even think I stretched it. And I put the batting and I put the quilt and I just put it all on. And then the next day, I stopped the live stream and I was just sharing how quick my transitions are. And the next day I came to long arm it by myself. I didn't do any live. And I started quilting the row number one. Row number one. So let me roll it for you, but you can see it under the bar. You can see like there's pleats here. This is a better view, I'm sure. So there was, when I sewed it, I didn't pull the back fabric right, and so there's like these little tiny pleats. Like this one's inside the quilting, but it's just right here. And then this one's like a big one. It's in this area of the quilt. This is a donated quilt. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this one and not worry about these little ones. But if it was a client's quilt, I would unstitch this, and then I was pulling the fabric enough here, kind of trying to work it and iron it. But this happens when you don't pull the back fabric taut enough, and then it kind of puddles within itself, and then when you're quilting it, and you can see that I didn't pull it when I sewed the top of the quilt. And I think I did that because I was doing a live stream and I was trying to showcase how quickly I could transition from one quilt to another. All this rippling, if you do not take care of it before you put the back batting and the quilt on, you'll have problems with the quilt. I use these clamps to go ahead and pull that back fabric nice and taut, but when I did that quilt, I literally sewed the batting and the quilt top in this condition, and that's why I ended up having those pleats. Can you imagine? Look at all those holes and valleys. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pull the fabric as tight as I can, especially in this area. Right there. And I like, hopefully, clamping close to the edge. Clamping close to the edge, straighten this out. But now I have this little problem here. You see it nice and taut here, and then here you see a little bit of the rippling. Also too, I could, if I wanted to, pull this tighter, which is probably what I'm going to do. And this is how beautiful and straight you could get your back. You could see a little tiny. This is not going to be a problem. But what I had before is, so the way I clamp the clamps, I made sure that I'm pulling in a way that it pulls all of it. And then I also grab the clamp here. I was grabbing the clamp up here, but I'm grabbing it here. So where you grab, it's also how it pulls the tension. Well, in long arming row number 1, I started seeing that the top end had a lot of ripples on the back fabric. And one of the reasons I love using leaders and basting the back fabric to a leader is you don't have that issue. You tend to have that issue when you're pinning and you have these valleys and hills on the back fabric. But because I didn't pull it tight enough, and then I already put the batting and the quilt top on it and I sewed it with ripples. Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, because I'm going to trim a good portion of the border off, but now I'm going to have to be mindful as I pull the back fabric taut enough. I will trim this off, and when I probably trim this off, some of the pleats will disappear. But yeah, that is not good. Sometimes you could work the pleat out, iron it out, and yeah, so let's get the fabric nice and tight in the back. But then it caused a ripple effect. I ended up having to pull up the batting and the quilt top and kind of just roll it, like have it up, and then you could see the back fabric just had like, it was not straight, or it's not taut. So you're seeing I straightened the back fabric. I had to kind of straighten that out and tighten it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up. And what I found while I was rolling the quilt, like I had this like weird pleats on the back fabric. You're not supposed to have any of that. And you can see that because like not pulling the back fabric out initially is such a pain. From here on out until I get to the 3rd row, I'm gonna have to be managing, because you see that? Yeah, what I'm gonna do you see all that rippling right there? That's a problem. That causes pleats. So here I got this, so it kind of tightened this area, but do you see that pleat right there? And then do you see all these little ones? They're like horrible. I'm gonna go ahead and grab one of these and pull really tight so that all that will cause pleats. So I need to iron all this and flatten it as much as I can so that when I start working on the next row, it disappears, or I don't have pleats on the next row. I went ahead and I ironed it, and you can see that it's a little bit less pleaty. At least the back fabric's flatter. So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab the quilt, and I'm gonna start straightening her out. This is the 2nd row. See, 2nd row, here we are. 2nd row. This is how lovely the quilt looks. And then I made sure I pulled that back fabric as much as I possibly could to get rid of those ripples. And it didn't fix it, but it made it better so that I could focus on certain areas while it was quilting. And you know how I cat scratch in the front? I ended up having cat scratch underneath the long arm. So the fullness or puddling that was in the back fabric, which is so annoying because I created it, now I'm cat scratching underneath the quilt, making sure that the fullness goes within the design of it being quilted, which is crazy. You can see that as I ironed under the table, there's not any pleats beyond this point, beyond that point. But that's why I love this mirror. It's really helpful. I need to be careful here. Do you see that right here? This could be a potential pleat. So I'm gonna stay here. One of the things I did is, as I was looking on the back table with that mirror, is I saw like little rippling or little pleats that could be created. It's just like fabric that's pleated and it goes out in a weird way. I was ironing underneath on the underside of the long arm while the long arm was working, so that right when the long arm got in that area where I could see some rippling, I was starching and ironing it, because once I put the batting and the top on top of that back fabric, you couldn't see where the pleats were, but if you look under the mirror you could see them. And so I micromanaged the heck out of row number 2, and thank God, because I was on top of it kind of moving the fabric before the quilt got to those areas, I ended up not having pleats in the second row. I did end up having pleats on the first row on the top, but from that point on I did lift the back batting and the top again on the third row, and you could see that the back fabric was nice and straight again. I believe that you could fix anything when it comes to quilting, but what would have happened is I would have had to unstitch all that first row, like unstitch the whole thing, unstitch all that quilting, and I've done it and you can do it. And this is a sweet little Tooltron tool seam ripper that I use to do that. If I straighten this out, this happens when I straighten this out. When I straighten this out, this I already ironed as much as I could to flatten this out. I ironed this as much as I could. I think I need to iron it a little bit more. It's a lot of that pleating. And so, yeah. You know, it's just a stupid mistake. I'm going to share with you how I got this really beautiful and straight. We have a little bit of pleating here, but I ironed the heck out of it to like fix it. I went ahead and I wet the heck out of this fabric, and what that does when fabric is wet, it allows you to stretch it. And so look how flat I got her. Now I need to work on the straightness of the border, but I got her pretty flat, which makes me happy because I thought I was gonna have a lot of problems. The border's a bit wavy, and it's because of how this is longer than this, and so it bows down. But yeah, I fixed it. Look how beautiful this quilt is. Let me straighten this out. She's lovely. Isn't that beautiful? Look at beautiful feathers. Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, I almost... I'm just sharing that, yeah. What a pain in the ass. Sorry I said it that way. Sometimes quilting can be just... I'm blah. So dumb. It's okay that you know that I mess up a lot. I know it looks like I have a perfect world and everything just goes so smoothly. No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, if you watch my live streams, you realize how stupid my life can be sometimes. But, yeah, man, it worked. And I don't know what happened to that quilt. I've been donating and giving away so many quilts. I don't even know who I gave it to. But I must have given it away already because I can't find that quilt anywhere. I'm sure I already put the binding on. I'm sure like I trimmed it. I know I trimmed it, and when I looked at the back, the pleats were so small. I didn't worry about them. And if you have a big pleat in the back, sometimes you can hand stitch it like you would do binding, and it looks just like a seam. But yeah. We love you. Hope you're messing up.